Welcome to the Doktor O'Kay Show. I am Doktor O'Kay, and today is SmackDown from Washington, D.C., where our main headline is Just Keep Surviving a Valentine's Day Massacre. But we'll get to that in a minute, and we'll also have a special little segment about Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn. But we'll get to that in a moment as well, so we'll just keep wedging your way in as Naomi finishes with a flurry of a springboard enziguri, an X Factor, and a split-legged moonsault to defeat Chelsea Green and advance to the Elimination Chamber. That means Naomi is the ones, and she also had a split leg drop and a head scissor driver, and then also the biggest atomic wedgie ever seen inside a wrestling ring. But when it finally mattered, she got back to business to get the win and goes to 2-1 in one-on-one matches, and that means Chelsea is the twos. And other than pushing Chelsea out of the way to stop a baseball slide, Piper didn't really get involved here. And so Chelsea lost her early advantage, but after a Rough Rider, she tried to finish it off with an Unpretty Her, but she was unable to connect, so she loses and goes to 1-2. But at least she still is our Women's United States Champion, and this was certainly an entertaining opening match, so it gets an okay. Second, we just keep going through the motions as both sides work well together on their team moves, but the machine guns finish off Los Garza with the skull and bones. So that means the machine guns are the ones, and they also had a nice drop kick and flatliner combo, but we're not sure why they didn't just do that skull and bones then. Regardless, they landed it later, so they win and go to 4-1-1 in traditional tags. And that means Los Garza is the twos, and they also had a nice springboard enziguri, but this was a team move with a power slam. However, for them, the referee took forever to get into position, so that very well may have cost them a victory here, so they dropped a 1-2 in traditional tags. This was not terrible by any means, but there was just not a lot of juice to squeeze out of it, so it gets a not okay. Third, we just keep questioning your manhood, because after Shinsuke Nakamura came out to the middle of the ring saying that he had waited in the shadows for 4 weeks and was praying for a worthy challenger, LA Knight stepped up saying the last time he faced Shinsuke, he planted him to the mat. But The Miz then tried to interrupt. However, Knight cut him short by playing all of his usual hits against him. But The Miz retorted by saying at least he's been to the top of the mountain, so he wants a shot at the US title. But then Knight called him an impotent dork, so The Miz swung at him, that Knight blocked, and eventually knocked him out of the ring. So Nick Aldis came out and made a match right there to be the new #1 contender. But because Miz started this, he does pick up a fine for instigating. So when we finally had a match, we will have LA Knight as the ones, and he also played his usual hits by eventually reversing a skull-crushing finale into a blunt force trauma, and then the megastar elbow off of the top rope, so he goes to 3-0 in one-on-one matches and is back to being the #1 contender. But The Miz is the twos, and he had a couple moments of his own, throwing Knight up against the steel steps and later hitting his kneeling DDT. But strangely, this is now a trend where it's his third straight match where his opponent lands their standard finisher, but then after that does a signature move that they don't usually use to end a match, but that is the thing that pins them. Very strange what's going on here. Nonetheless, The Miz does fall to 0-3 in one-on-one matches in 2025 with all 3 of those strange finishes. But then Andrade caught up to Miz after the match and made fun of him by saying that he could teach The Miz something, and then Andrade left, but Carmelo Hayes came up to Miz as well, and he rejected a fist bump and rejected teaming up with The Miz. This was not exactly a match to get up off your seats to, so we'll give this a double not okay. Fourth, we just keep dooming yourself as our truth goes for the 5 moves of doom a little bit too soon in this one, and that leaves Carmelo Hayes open for a codebreaker and a nothing but net to score a quick victory. So Hayes is indeed the ones, and this was a very fast match, and I guess that's exactly how it's supposed to go after he struggled for quite a while last week with Akira Tozawa. Nonetheless, this is 2 wins in a row for him, even though they're not exactly against the toughest guys on the roster. But you gotta start somewhere, so he is 2-2-1 in one-on-one matches. And our truth is the twos, and he just wanted to be like his childhood hero, John Cena, a little bit too much. And then after that, he also hit a stunner, but it didn't slow Hayes down very much. So I guess Truth will just need to keep on practicing that one. Nonetheless, this does stop a 3-match winning streak, and he is 0-1 on SmackDown, if he even realizes that he's on SmackDown yet. And yes, I complained about Hayes' match last week against Tozawa, which was actually a good match, but took him a little bit too long to win. This time it was the opposite, and what Hayes did is take care of business. However, that means it was awfully quick and not a lot to it. And so it was a pretty bad match, but for Hayes, you should take the win and be happy to get a double not okay. And in our main headline, but not the main event, we just keep surviving a Valentine's Day massacre as Nia Jax completely dominates Tiffany Stratton for about 15 of the 17 minutes of this match before she moves away from an annihilator to have a spine buster of sorts and then have a prettiest moonsault ever get stopped by Candice to cause a disqualification. So Tiffy does indeed retain that title, and she is the ones, but where did this come from? She had otherworldly survival skills in this match because if you can remember, from April to December of 2024, she lost 7 straight one-on-one matches, succumbing to far less damage than what Nia inflicted upon her here. But she did have one nice sky raid on Nia, landing a moonsault to the floor and then a swanton bomb in the middle of the ring. But this was a figuratively bloody Valentine's Day for Tiffy. However, she escapes and is 3-0 in one-on-one matches. But that means Nia is somehow the twos because she was basically Al Capone and the entire Southside gang here as she carried out the hit with several Samoan drops, leg drops, and elbow drops. Basically anything where you drop your opponent, that was what Nia was doing to Tiffy. Nonetheless, she was done in again by taking too long on her annihilator, and so she's clearly not listening to me in my 3 steps to annihilate your opponent video. And of course, that led to Candice stopping the prettiest moonsault ever, so Candice will get a fine for that, but that leaves Nia with a DQ loss, and she's just 2-3 in one-on-one matches. But with Candice's help, Nia then immediately squashed Tiffy up against the turnbuckle and annihilated her that time. However, Trish Stratus leapt the barricade and helped Tiffy after Candice grabbed a steel chair, so Trish officially then stopped Candice, but she was unable to help Tiffy much as Nia eventually squashed Trish into the corner. And then Nia had one more leg drop on Tiffy for good measure as the WWE officials came out to try to stop her, and we will have to give Nia a fine as well for that attack. But after they finally left, Charlotte Flair came on out and sat in that steel chair right behind Tiffy, and she officially chose Tiffy as her WrestleMania opponent, which of course she absolutely should do that after seeing how easy Tiffy should be for her to defeat. Trish then found Tiffy backstage while she was being interviewed by Byron Saxton, and Trish had a beautiful idea saying that she wants a tag match with Tiffy up against Nia and Candice, so it indeed will be all at once Trishy time and Tiffy time. I'm not sure if we can all handle that much time going on at once. Nonetheless, it is hard to believe my eyes with this match, and Candice ruined a potential title change, so it gets deducted down to just an okay. And in the actual main event, we just keep seeing love at first fight, as Solo Sikoa's love for Jacob Fatu is unrequited as he accidentally Samoan spikes Tonga, and then Fatu glares at his former tribal chief, which allows Damian Priest to push Fatu into Sikoa and clothesline Fatu over the barricade so he has an easy chance to land a South of Heaven chokeslam on Braun Strowman and advance to the Elimination Chamber. So Priest is the one in this not surprisingly hard-hitting matchup, but he simply took advantage of an opening after Sikoa had come out of the crowd to Samoan Spike Strowman, and after Cody Rhodes joined the fray to stop Sikoa, including with a crossroads, Strowman was vulnerable for that South of Heaven, so Priest goes to 3-1 in singles matches. And Fatu is the twos, and he should have won this 2 times with 2 super kicks and 3 hip attacks on Strowman, but instead of repeating what he did at Saturday night's main event, he went and grabbed a steel chair from ringside and placed it over Strowman's head, but that gave Strowman time to recover, and he reciprocated by putting the chair over Fatu's head, but Fatu was then bailed out by Sikoa's Samoan Spike, and then secondly, after that assist, Fatu was able to hit a mighty moonsault on Strowman, but he strangely didn't go for a cover immediately here, and that led to Rhodes joining the fray, and everything broke down from there. So Fatu has unbelievably lost 5 straight matches and is 0-3 in singles matches. Yikes, didn't see that coming. And that means Strowman is the threes, and he had his moments as well with a double powerbomb on both men, and then later a nice freight train that tossed Priest over the announce table, but he drops to just 1 and 2 in singles matches, and there was a lot of chaos and not a lot of love lost between these opponents, so it gets an okay. And with that, let's go beyond the mat for SmackDown, where Cody Rhodes started the show naming his potential WrestleMania opponents, so McIntyre took offense because Rhodes lacked enthusiasm when he said, also Drew McIntyre, but McIntyre decided to point out his many accomplishments, but Rhodes said indeed he did not forget that McIntyre was one of the few people that has beaten him. Fatu and Tonga then interrupted this interaction, and Fatu said that he was going to be bringing the title back to his family where it never should have left, but he then stopped when the Titantron showed Solo Sikoa pulling up to the arena. So after Fatu inexplicably pushed a backstage producer, for which we'll have to give him a 2-week suspension, he found Solo Sikoa, and then Sikoa turned around his favorite saying by saying, "I love you, Jacob," but all of this put together is gonna get a not okay. Sami Zayn gave us a video from his home with an update saying that he is not doing great, and it's a joke at this point of how many times KO has done this to him, but he knew this was not about sending a message, but rather about ending Sami's career, and he said that he can't believe that this was about not helping in a wrestling match when he thought he was there for KO. But apparently they look at things differently, so when he's cleared, he is going after KO. So then KO saw this and filmed another video from inside his car, because apparently that is his favorite place to do that. Who knows if he was anywhere close to being near that arena in DC. But nonetheless, KO said that he has been stabbed in the back and is heartbroken because these are 3 guys that he considered to be brothers. So he called out Zayn for the Elimination Chamber and said to find him there. So put together, we will give these 2 little videos an okay, but we've got to take a moment here, folks. What did you expect here, Sami? Come on, Roman Reigns is the worst person in the WWE, and you know everything that he put you through. But not just you, also KO and his own cousins, and when you even asked for Reigns to apologize, he refused to do that, even to Jay, to his face. So somehow you still decided it was worth it to try to save Roman Reigns at Crown Jewel, and then you joined his team at War Games, and then worst of all, you interfered in his match to regain that Ulafala on the Netflix premiere of Raw. And all for what? Because your time in the Bloodline made you feel special? I think special is having a best friend for 20 years in this industry, but for you to even remember him, you had to witness him getting beaten nearly to death at the 2023 Royal Rumble before you finally saw the error of your ways and went back to KO. And yet, instead, you go right on back to Roman Reigns and abandon Kevin Owens when he literally asks you for help one time. So yes, if you needed to knock Cody Rhodes off of a ladder, that was your time to do it. And if you did that, KO would be champion right now, and he would have helped you to be able to win the Royal Rumble. And then the two of you could have made history main eventing WrestleMania. Instead, now you're injured and he's in pain inside and outside, and now you've lost a best friend because you'd rather help your fake friend and your actual true enemy than help your actual real friend. So Sammy, you deserve what's coming to you next, and you should probably just stay home and never come back. But let's get back to SmackDown, where Alexa Bliss came up to Nia and Candice before Nia's match, wishing her good luck. But Nia said she's familiar with former friends betraying her, and Alexa then brought up the possibility of them facing each other at WrestleMania, which apparently is now off the table because Nia lost. Notably, however, we got another screen glitch, so perhaps Alexa should follow those buzzards. But because of that, we'll give this an okay. The Street Profits had another vignette where Dawkins called out everyone once he's fully cleared, and Ford followed that up saying that they're going to know their frustration that's been in them for years and saying that nothing is okay. Well, that was okay by me, and in fact, it's so okay, your passion is getting a double okay. Byron Saxton interviewed Pretty Deadly, and they said they're feeling exquisite and like two tasty snacks. So fortunately for us, DIY interrupted, saying that they're not angry, just disappointed, and that their dreams of winning the title are dead, so they will get a proper moment of silence after they defeat them next week. But we really didn't need to hear exactly what Pretty Deadly said there, so it gets a not okay. Nick Aldis showed Bianca and Naomi a video showing that Liv and Raquel were walking toward the arena as Jade was being placed into an ambulance back in November. Now I will point out that everyone who eventually participated in the War Games match was there that night. But with them walking toward the arena, it seems that they were just showing up to potentially interfere in the Bayley and Naomi versus Tiffany and Candice match that happened later that night, which they did interfere, but that was only after Nia interfered in the match and then Io interfered in the match. But after Liv and Raquel came down, we had then Rhea joining in as well. So I guess they are all potential suspects here, but considering that they were receiving this cell phone video 3 whole months after the attack by an anonymous source, I think this footage is likely doctored, which of course would be not okay. But because Bianca and Naomi are so confident that they knew it was those two this entire time, they vowed to take care of it themselves on Raw. But I don't believe it's them for a second here. This footage, as I said, is probably doctored, or at least Liv and Raquel were just showing up then and had nothing to do with this. So it gets a not okay. McIntyre found Big Jim hanging out backstage, where he said that Jimmy's career is going very badly, but at least he married up. So Jimmy just walked away from McIntyre before turning right back around and super kicking him in the face. But for that comment, even though it was probably justified, we will have to give Jimmy a 1-week suspension. And lastly, Triple H surprised Michelle McCool on ESPN, announcing that she was being inducted into the WWE Hall of Fame, so congrats to her, and of course that gets an okay. Wow, that felt like a lot of segments, but not a lot to love. And of course, I have no love for the SportsZu right now, but it would be lovely if you checked out his predictions for all 20 matches over WrestleMania weekend right on over here, because if you don't, you cannot be my Valentine, and because love hurts, this show gets a not okay.